Hi, it's me Jacqueline. Welcome to my channel. If you're new to the channel, then please subscribe my channel and visit my Patreon page, link in the description. I opened my mouth, ready to fire back, but shut it again. I had a few choice words, but I held them in. She stepped closer, standing inches from me, her gaze challenging. You got something to say? I did, but arguing with her was pointless. I'm going to bed. I didn't try to push past her. I just stood there, waiting for her to move. Not yet. You need to get some things out of my room, she said, turning on her heel, expecting me to follow. I followed her to her bedroom, where a small pile of clothes lay on her bed, a couple of skirts, some tops, and a pair of pink knee socks that matched a pink blouse. My stomach twisted as I turned to Becky. What's all this for? For you. Mom said you needed more outfits. I don't need them. Mom thinks you do. I don't want them. Becky picked up the pink top and held it in front of me. Don't you think this would go nicely with the nail polish and lipstick you're wearing? She batted her lashes, her voice sickly sweet. I just stared at her. I do, she continued, ignoring my silence. I think you'd look darling. She paused, waiting for a response. When I didn't give one, she pressed further. Don't you? F*********, you, I muttered under my breath. Becky's eyes widened in mock shock. Oh my, such a filthy mouth. She glanced toward the door. Say that again. I don't think Mom heard you. I met her challenge. F********, you, I repeated, slightly louder. Becky was caught off guard. She hadn't expected me to actually fight back. For a moment, I saw something like surprise, maybe even irritation, flash across her face. Good. But then, her smirk returned. She stared at me, her eyes narrowing, analyzing me. I shifted uncomfortably, unable to stand still. My posture was awkward, unsure. She grinned. I looked down, straightening the skirt of my dress. I told myself less than 2 weeks. Then this punishment is over, and I'll get my revenge. I realized I had been fixing my skirt out of nervous habit. I forced myself to stop and looked back up just as Becky held the pink top against my shoulders, letting the fabric drape over my chest. Yes, pink looks good on you, she said, giving me a slight push. I instinctively stepped back until my back touched the wall. Becky tilted her head. Don't you agree? In that moment, I made a decision. Resisting wasn't going to help me. Like I just told myself, I had less than 2 weeks left. Then everything would go back to normal. I'll be the good son again, and she'll be the bad daughter. That's when I'll make her pay. So, instead of arguing, I mumbled, yeah. Becky's smirk deepened. She knew she had me. That reminds me. Mom wanted me to give you one more thing, she said, stepping to her dresser. She pulled open the top drawer and took out a blue nightgown. She said you need something to sleep in. I stared at the garment. It was medium length, with short puffy sleeves and lace trim. I hated that my first thought was, it's kind of pretty. A small voice in my head warned me, you're a boy. I can't sleep in that. I blurted out, but it sounded more like a statement than an actual protest. Becky tossed the nightgown at me, then turned back to the drawer. If you don't like that one, I have another. She pulled out a pink nightshirt. Maybe you'll like this better. It's pink. She turned to me, grinning. You're fond of pink. I should have been protesting more. I should have thrown the nightgown back at her and stormed out. Instead, I ran my fingers over the fabric. It felt nice. I wanted to know what it would feel like to sleep in it. Besides, it was Mom's decision, not mine. I wasn't choosing this. I wasn't. And this punishment was almost over. In 2 weeks, I'd go back to normal. I might never have another opportunity to know what it felt like. So, which do you prefer, the pink or the blue? I hesitated. If I have to pick, this will do, I said, holding on to the blue one. Blue was more masculine. Becky smirked but didn't argue. If that's the one you want, enjoy. She put the pink nightshirt back in the drawer. Go ahead and grab the rest of your clothes. I bundled the skirts and tops in my arms without a word. After you change into your nightgown, I'll help you take off your nail polish, Becky said. Then, with a wicked grin, she added, unless, of course, You want to wear it to school tomorrow." "No," I said quickly. "No, I don't." I turned to leave, but Becky grabbed my shoulder. I froze. "Hold on," she said, her voice suddenly softer. I expected another tease, but instead, she reached for the clasp at the back of my dress. Gently, she unhooked it and pulled the zipper down halfway. "Thanks," I said automatically, not even thinking about it. Becky just smirked. As I walked to my room, a question nagged at me. Why did I thank her? I didn't have an answer. Once inside, I stared at the pile of new clothes on my dresser, unsure what to do with them. For now, I left them there. I stepped out of my dress and tossed it onto my bed, then turned to the mirror. The shapewear and undergarments hugged my body in a way that made me pause. I looked attractive. My upper half appeared fuller, and the cincher had given me a defined hourglass figure. I held the pink top against my chest, considering how it would look on me. For a brief moment, I imagined trying on all the outfits, but the sound of Becky's footsteps in the hallway snapped me out of it. I quickly tossed the top back onto the pile. She could never know I was enjoying this. Meanwhile, Becky retrieved the nail polish remover and cotton balls from the bathroom before heading to the living room, where her mother sat. Their voices remained low, careful not to let Bobby overhear. "Does it bother you that Bobby is wearing girls' clothes?" her mother asked. Becky hesitated, then suppressed a smirk. "I thought it was weird at first, but honestly, I like Bobby Sue. She's more fun." She paused before adding, "Does that make me weird?" Mrs. Streichler took Becky's hand, giving it a reassuring squeeze. "Not at all." Becky thought that was too easy. "I do worry about how kids at school would treat Bobby Sue if they ever found out," she added, testing the waters. Her mother sighed. "Bobby is lucky to have you as a sister." "I worry about that, too." Becky noticed her mother's eyes glistening, as if she were about to cry. "If the other kids are like Vanessa, he shouldn't have any problems," Becky said, attempting to lighten the mood. Mrs. Streichler nodded. "She does seem to be accepting it well." In my room, I hesitated before stepping out in the nightgown. The sheer thought of wearing it made me question my manhood and my sanity. Downstairs, my mother glanced up as I entered the room. She blinked, taken aback. "Is he wearing?" she started to ask. Becky nodded. "He asked me for a nightgown." "Really?" I was surprised, too. Becky lied effortlessly. I could tell he was embarrassed to ask, so I told him it was a good idea and let him pick one from my drawer. She studied her mother's face, watching her take the bait. "I think he chose the blue one because it's frilly." Mrs. Streichler sat in deep thought. Letting Bobby explore this side of himself was one thing, but she hadn't considered the cost. A full wardrobe for Bobby Sue could be expensive. Returning the gaming console and game she'd bought for his birthday would free up about $250, enough for a decent starter wardrobe. Becky interrupted her thoughts. "I think Bobby Sue would be happier if the nightgown was pink." "What?" "For her birthday, I think I'll buy her a pink one," Becky said casually. Mrs. Streichler considered it, then nodded. "Yes, I think she would like that." Upstairs, I brushed my teeth, relishing the way the nightgown felt against my skin. It was so light, so soft. As I moved, I noticed my chest shifting. I had taken off the cincher to breathe, but I'd left the shapewear on. I didn't want to go back to being me. Not yet. Just like the day before, and the night before that, I felt giddy inside. The emotional high was powerful. I didn't understand why wearing my sister's lingerie and nightgown made me feel this way. I just knew that it did. I walked into the living room. "Can we take off the nail polish in the morning? I'm tired." "Sure," Becky said. Mom stood, walked over, and gently fixed my hair. Then she gave me a goodnight hug and kissed my forehead. "Good night, dear. I love you." "Good night, Mom," I murmured, hugging her back. I was happy that Mom had made me wear the lingerie and dress. Becky surprised me by giving me a small hug, too. "Good night, sis." "Good night," I muttered. That night, Vanessa lay awake, unable to sleep. She thought about Bobby Sue, wearing the slip. The image stirred something inside her, something she couldn't ignore. She wasn't supposed to be thinking about her best friend like this. But she was. What is wrong with me? A good friend doesn't sneak peeks at their best friend in lingerie, even if that friend looks attractive. Her mind replayed their hug. The way the slip felt, silky and smooth against his skin. She imagined running her hands over the fabric, feeling it glide over his form. Her thoughts drifted lower. She pictured his attractive figure, the way the undergarments lined his silhouette beneath the slip. What's wrong with me? Her thoughts circled back, looping over and over until exhaustion finally pulled her into a deep, erotic dream. Meanwhile, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. An hour passed. Sleep refused to come. The shapewear and fake curves felt too restrictive. Do Becky and Mom wear shapewear to bed? Do real breasts feel like 2 lumps? Sitting up, I peeled off the shapewear, my chest flattening once more. A wave of disappointment hit me. But I needed to sleep. Curling under the covers, I wrapped myself in warmth, my mind a chaotic storm of emotions. Why do I enjoy wearing my sister's lingerie? Why does looking pretty suddenly feel important to me? Why do I miss having a chest? What is wrong with me? Becky, on the other hand, had no trouble sleeping. In her dreams, she was a CEO and a top fashion designer. Rich, powerful, beautiful. She stood in her luxurious office, looking down at rows of teenage boys working tirelessly at sewing machines. Sweat glistened on their bodies as they labored over delicate fabrics. Becky smiled. Everything they wore, every piece of shapewear, every delicate lace-trimmed garment, was under her control. The next school day dragged. I couldn't focus. At the bus stop, Vanessa hugged me. Too warmly. Paranoia set in. Was it obvious she was treating me like a girlfriend? Could anyone tell that I was wearing black bikini-cut underwear beneath my jeans? Then, in homeroom, I noticed it, traces of pink nail polish around the edges of my fingernails. Panic shot through me. I kept my hands hidden. When I wasn't worrying about being exposed, I found myself doing something else, watching the girls. But not in the way I used to. I wasn't paying attention to the girls in jeans. I only cared about the ones wearing skirts and dresses. I watched how they moved, how they walked, how they sat. I studied them. I wanted to be them. The realization made my stomach twist. This isn't normal. As a boy, I should have been interested in getting into a girl's skirt, not wearing one. Vanessa spent the entire day thinking about the evening ahead and about Bobby Sue. She didn't understand her obsession with Bobby Sue. Why did seeing a boy look like a girl arouse her? What did that mean? Does this make me gay? But Bobby Sue was a boy. So, she couldn't be gay. We sat together on the bus ride home. Vanessa did all the talking. I barely listened. My thoughts kept drifting to the idea of slipping into my shapewear again, of having curves, of feeling soft, of feeling right. Each bus stop brought me closer to that moment. Closer to that feeling. Hey, what's wrong? Vanessa's voice snapped me out of it. Huh? You haven't said a word. What's bothering you? Nothing. I knew she wouldn't understand. Nothing, she pressed. Nothing much. Just thinking. Vanessa frowned. Fine. That wasn't what I meant. I hadn't meant to push her away. It's nothing really, I added quickly. She turned away, staring out the window. I hesitated before whispering, I'll tell you later. Not on the bus. She caught the hint and nodded. Okay. The rest of the ride passed in silence, both of us lost in our own thoughts. When we reached our stop, Vanessa stood and let me go first. Like a gentleman, I thought. We lingered by the sidewalk, waiting for the other kids to walk away before heading toward our trailers. Do you want to study together? She asked. Sure. When should I come over? Whenever. We stopped at her trailer. She turned to me before heading inside. So, she said, tilting her head, what were you thinking about? I'd hoped she'd forgotten. I hesitated before finally admitting, if you thought I was a weird freak because I wore my sister's dress. Vanessa said nothing. Instead, she leaned in and kissed me. Soft, warm. Her lips pressed against mine, lingering. Her hand, gentle and cautious, settled on my lower back. Then lower. I panicked. Not because of the kiss. The kiss was amazing. I panicked because I was afraid she'd feel the underwear beneath my jeans. If she did, if she knew, she'd realize what kind of freak I really was. Sorry, I gotta go, I blurted, stepping back. Vanessa looked confused. Bye. I walked away without looking back. The whole situation suddenly felt weird. As I reached our trailer, my mind reeled. Vanessa kissed me. My first kiss. I had no idea a simple kiss could feel so powerful. My head felt light. My chest felt warm. For the first time, I truly saw Vanessa. She wasn't just my best friend. She was beautiful. I had never noticed how pretty she was before, or how incredible her body was. I stepped inside our trailer. Silence. That was odd. Becky usually had the stereo blasting. Becky? I called. No answer. I checked her room. Empty. The bathroom. Empty. She hadn't said anything about not being home after school. I walked into the kitchen to see if she left a note. Nothing. For a moment, I considered calling Mom at work. But I shook off the idea. That would be childish. Nothing was wrong. Right? I went to my bedroom, dropping my book bag onto the bed before kicking off my sneakers. I had spent the entire day fantasizing about this moment. But now that it was here, I hesitated. I stared at the neatly folded clothes on my dresser. A part of me wanted to shove them onto the floor. Instead, I reached out, running my fingers over the pink top. The fabric was so soft. Why does this feel so right? Without thinking, I unbuttoned my shirt. Then I caught my reflection in the mirror. I froze. Am I weird? A distant train whistle echoed through the air. I hated that sound. Soon, the train would screech past our trailer, rattling the walls with its deafening roar. A brutal reminder of where I lived. Of what I was. Trailer trash. What does it matter what I do or don't do? I let my shirt slip off my shoulders. Standing in front of the mirror, I took in my reflection. My black underwear stood out starkly against my pale skin. I hated how thin I was. I closed my eyes, waiting for the train to pass. Maybe, just maybe, one day, when I opened my eyes, everything would be different. The trailer trembled as the train roared past. I opened my eyes. Nothing had changed. Sighing, I pulled the black shapewear from the pile. I slid my arms through the straps, the way Mom had shown me, then struggled with the clasp at the back. After a few frustrating attempts, I finally hooked it into place. I reached for my breast forms and inserted them into the cups, adjusting them carefully. I stepped back. My reflection wasn't me anymore. It was her. Bobby Sue. I wondered what it would feel like to have real curves, real breasts, like Vanessa. Then I saw her face in the mirror. Smiling. I spun around, covering my chest and crotch with my hands. What the hell? Vanessa leaned against my bedroom door. Sorry, she said, raising her hands in surrender. You didn't answer the door. I barely heard her. I didn't hear you knock. I shouted. The train, she said simply, pointing toward the tracks. The rumble of the passing train drowned out everything else. She just stood there, watching me. Her eyes moved over me, up and down, lingering. Then, almost absent-mindedly, she licked her lips. A shiver ran down my spine. I needed to cover myself. I spun back toward the bed and grabbed the black skirt. I need to get dressed. I shouted over the noise. But Vanessa didn't move. She just stared. The train rumbled past. Do you need help getting dressed? Vanessa asked. No, I can dress myself. I could tell she found my embarrassment amusing. Okay, she said, biting back a smile. I'll wait for you on the sofa. She turned toward the door but hesitated just outside. Bobby, I'm sorry. For what? For just coming in like that. I didn't mean to catch you changing. It's all right. You just startled me. It wasn't all right. But I wasn't about to argue. Are you mad at me? No, I'm not mad. I was upset with myself, not her. Are you sure? I'm sure. Good. I'm dressed, I called, stepping out of my room. Vanessa took one look at me and burst into giggles. I frowned. She quickly realized I wasn't amused and tried to stop. I'm sorry, she said, taking a deep breath. It's just, The zipper doesn't go in the front. That's a paneled skirt. The zipper should be on the side. She pointed at my black top. And this is meant to be worn off the shoulders. She reached up and tugged the sleeves down, adjusting the fabric. Like this. I knew something felt off when I put it on. How was I supposed to know? I'm a guy. Some skirts zip on the side, others in the back. You'll get used to it. I didn't know. If you want to wear that top, you should wear a strapless shapewear. That's why I had the sleeves up. Do you have a strapless one? No. I don't think so. Let's check. Vanessa stepped past me into my room without hesitation. Is Becky here? She asked. No. I don't know where she is. She scanned the stack of clothes on my dresser, the slip, cincher, pink shapewear, undershorts. Her eyes landed on the blue nightgown. She picked it up, running her fingers over the fabric. She didn't say anything about it, but I saw the look in her eyes. God, I have to see him in this.
Please subscribe for the next part and visit my Patreon page for early access.